Happy Women's History Month. Happy International Women's Day to you. This is Yvonne from the Berks Rise Center and the Council on Chemical Abuse. This is our fourth installment of Queen Baby. As we have been talking about, we are looking at ourselves as women, talking about the Queen Baby syndrome and how on many levels we come by it honestly. The last video I spoke to you about, we talked about coming from a place of being needy as babies, and if we don't grow to understand that there's a space and place for people taking care of us, and now comes a time that we need to take care of ourselves, and if we don't do that in a place that resonates maturity and growth, then we begin to rely on others and we begin to get resentful when our needs are not being met. And so as we walk and talk through the Queen Baby syndrome, we learn about what it means to talk about what we need and how we need that and how we feel about that in a fashion that allows us to grow. And so I'm just going to talk to you a little bit more about Queen Baby. And this is talking about filling the void. And it talks about being that women with a substance use disorder. And I think sometimes we could think about women in general. There's an internal struggle that sometimes we look for self-acceptance, right? And many of us have internalized messages that leave us feeling incomplete, unworthy, and without value. And so if we're growing up with different messages about ourselves, we come to believe them, we internalize them, and we position ourselves to feel like we need others to make us feel good. We need things to make us feel good, right? And so we operate out of a place here, it says, of fear and look to external solutions for internal problems. So our inadequacies, our feeling like we're not valued, our feeling like we're not worthy, we kind of don't want to feel that way, right? And so we look for things outside of us to validate us, to give us value, to let us know we are worthy. And so it talks about beginning to seek out validation by focusing on what we have and who we have. And so when we think about things that we find of value in people or in other things, that we find that to be more value than ourselves, and if they don't live up to our expectations, we kind of push those things away in an angry fashion and actually blame those things for not making us feel whole and not making us feel good. And so it also says that we can oftentimes look to other things like chemicals, maybe food, maybe shopping, maybe gambling, and even sex to fill that void and make us feel better, right? And those feel betters is in quotes because oftentimes we find those things and they temporarily meet our needs, but they don't do that over the long period of time. And then we become trapped in a cycle of looking to the outside to fix what's inside. And when we think about the Queen Baby syndrome, when we think about how we're looking for the outside world or outside people, places, and things to fill that void inside of us, we really aren't looking to our ownness, our own selves, our own wholeness. And this filling the void is on many levels, a trap. It's a trap to say people, things will fail us. I'm again feeling that value or not valuable enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not worthy enough. And so I'm going to continue those behaviors that I think are meeting my needs, even if it feels uncomfortable. And so the child within us, it says, who is trying to get her needs met is scared and lonely. We have been hurt and will work hard to avoid painful experiences. And so when we look to avoid those painful experiences, we then try to become people pleasers. We try to meet other folks' needs before our own. And then again, when it's an unmet need, it goes unchecked for us on the inside. And so many of us grieve a childhood that was cut short by parental dysfunction or addiction. Similar to the child, we engage in magical thinking believing that if we look better, if we do more, or are perfect enough for some people, then we will achieve true happiness and will be fulfilled. But in reality, it says, we must come to the realization that fulfillment will occur only when we gain acceptance from ourselves, within ourselves, and others in the here and now can accept us, and everything will be okay then. And so when we feel that void within ourselves, when we tell ourselves good messages, when we give ourselves positive affirmations, when we find value in ourselves for ourselves, that's really where the work begins. That's where the queen baby syndrome can really now take a back seat, because we're looking at that self-fulfillment from within us and not necessarily looking to the outside of others to give us what we need to get our needs met. And so we're going to talk about, the next time I come to you, is how do we begin to take a closer look at those different badges that we wear from day to day to try and get our needs met, and what we can do to move beyond that, so that that queen baby syndrome that we have becomes less and less, and the more mature, evolved spiritual well-being of who we are and who we are meant to be comes to the surface. Again, I wish you happy Women's History Month. Celebrate you, value you, find a space and place within yourself that you know that you are good and worthy, and be kind and gentle with yourself. Queen baby, let's talk about it again soon. Thanks.